Welcome back to my channel Celebuzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. Richard Long really hated him more than anyone else. Richard Long was born Richard McCord Long on December 17, 1927 in Chicago, Illinois. Richard was the fifth of 6 kids in the Long family. When he was young, his family moved to Hollywood, California. This move would put him right in the middle of the movie business without him knowing it. Even though he never planned on becoming an actor, life had different plans for him. Richard Long got into Hollywood kind of by accident, after he served in the United States Army during World War II, where he was sent to fight in the Pacific. Long came back home and went to college. While he was studying at the University of Southern California, a person who looks for new actors found him. This led to a movie test and then a contract with Universal Pictures. In 1946, he acted in his first movie called Tomorrow is Forever with Claudette Colbert and Orson Welles. He played a caring young man who was really good at understanding feelings. This showed everyone he was a promising new face in Hollywood. During the late 1940s and early 1950s, Long kept appearing in lots of movies. People noticed him for his good looks, strong presence, and how real he seemed in his roles. Some of his best early movies were The Stranger in 1946, Ma and Pa Kettle where he played Tom Kettle, and cowboy movies like Kansas Raiders and The Tall Stranger. These movies showed he could act in many different ways and let him try both serious and funny roles. Working with big movie companies and famous actors of that time built his reputation as someone you could count on and who was really good at acting. But it was on television where Richard Long really became famous in everyone's home. When television got popular in the 1950s and 60s, Long easily switched to the new way of making shows and became really popular. He starred in a mystery show called Bourbon Street Beat from 1959 to 1960, where Hep played Detective Rex Randolph and kept playing the same character in 77 Sunset Strip. But maybe his most famous TV role came in the 1960s when he was picked to play Jared Barkley in their really good Western show The Big Valley from 1965 to 1969. Acting alongside Barbara Stanwyck, Lee Majors, Peter Breck, and Linda Evans, Long played the smart and well-spoken oldest Barkley's son. He mixed being serious and warm in a way that made fans love him. His work on The Big Valley made him a major television star. Richard Long's charm and likability weren't just for serious shows. He also showed perfect timing for comedy in Nanny and The Professor from 1970 to 1971. This was a fun family show where he played Professor Harold Everett. How well he got along with his co-star Juliet Mills was both sweet and believable, making the show loved by many fans and showing that Long was really good at handling different types of shows. In 1973, this talented and charming actor took on an interesting role opposite the famous Julie Harris in the TV series Thicker Than Water. Even though the show didn't last long, it gave viewers a special mix of touching drama and gentle comedy, showing how well the two main actors worked together. The series, while it didn't run very long, is still a cool gem from the early 70s television time, especially for fans who like good acting and stories about characters. After his work on Thicker Than Water, the actor kept making his mark with 2 memorable television movies in 1974. First came The Girl Who Came Gift-Wrapped, a fun and sweet romantic comedy that let him show a more playful and lovable side of his talent. In it, he played a man who got surprised when a beautiful woman was literally brought to his front door and turned his world upside down. This silly idea gave him the chance to show his comedy skills and made audiences smile during the time it was on TV. Later that same year, he did something more exciting and scary in Death Cruise, a TV mystery that kept viewers sitting on the edge of their seats. The story happened on a cruise ship that seemed perfect, but the movie showed a scary plot where nothing and no one was what they seemed. His acting helped make the movie feel tense, giving a good ending to a career that had covered many different types of shows and movies over many years. Even thought these projects would be his last times on screen. They showed his continued love for his work and his ability to easily fit into many different types of roles, leaving a lasting memory for fans and a quiet legacy in the golden age of television. Richard Long's personal life had both deep love and difficult times. He was married twice, with each marriage showing different parts of his character and life experiences. His first marriage was to singer and actress Susan Ball, a promising young performer and second cousin to Lucille Ball. They met in 1953 during what was a very emotional and hard time in Susan's life. She had already been told she had osteogenic sarcoma, a rare kind of bone cancer. Even with her health problems, the connection between Long and Ball grew quickly. Their romance was both touching and sad. Susan, who was under contract with Universal International Studios, had shown great strength and determination even though she was sick. In January 1954, after going through several months of treatment, She had her right leg cut off to try to stop the disease from getting worse. She bravely kept her career going with public appearances and stayed positive, often with Richard supporting her. The couple got married on April 11th, 1954 in a small but very moving ceremony with family, friends, and several people from the entertainment world there. Their marriage, while short, was described by those close to them as very loving and emotionally intense. Richard stayed devoted to Susan, being her main support during her painful health journey. Sadly, Susan died from cancer 14 months later in August 1955 when she was just 22 years old. Her death really affected Long, who had gone through the emotional pain of watching someone he loved suffer through sickness so early in their shared life. His sadness over Susan's death stayed with him for years, and he would later think about her courage and the short, beautiful time they had together. Several years later, Richard found love again. In 1957, he married Mara Corday, an actress and model, known for her work in movies during the 1950s, especially in science fiction and Western movies. The wedding happened in Las Vegas, a popular place for celebrity weddings during that time. Corday, a former showgirl and Playboy playmate, brought her own charm and star power to the marriage. Their marriage was first seen as a glamorous pairing, two attractive and well-known people joining together. The couple settled into home life and went on to have 3 children together, building what looked like a stable family life away from the Hollywood spotlight. However, the marriage was not without its problems. In 1961, Long faced a serious personal crisis when he was arrested by police after something happened, where Mara Corday said he attacked her while he was drunk. This event got media attention, putting a dark cloud over Long's otherwise clean public image. It was an especially hard time since domestic abuse was not talked about much in public, but was getting more attention during the early 1960s. Corday first said that she would press charges and even thought about filing for divorce, a decision that made headlines and made people wonder about how their marriage was doing. Even though the situation was serious, Corday later decided not to take legal action, and after a time of being apart and thinking, the couple got back together. Their decision to stay together was seen by some as proof of their lasting commitment, though others noticed that Long's struggles with alcohol may have caused the angry moments in their relationship. Still, they stayed married, and Corday stood by him through the rest of his life. Their marriage, though rocky at times, lasted until Richard Long's death in 1974, marking almost 20 years of partnership filled with both good times and bad times. To those who knew him best, Richard Long was a thoughtful, disciplined actor, a man of quiet pride and gentle charm. He wasn't the type to blow up, and he didn't hold grudges easily. But when it came to Lee Majors, something deep inside him got stirred up, a bitterness that could hardly be hidden. Long had worked with many difficult people in Hollywood, but none had left him as angry as Majors. The reasons for his dislike weren't from just one moment, but rather from years of slow-burning frustration, professional slights, and basic incompatibility. It started in the late 1960s when both actors were dealing with the high-pressure world of television fame. Long was an experienced performer by then, known for his roles in The Big Valley and later Nanny and The Professor. He cared about professionalism and preparation, approaching each script with the seriousness of a Shakespeare play. In contrast, Majors was the golden boy, younger, flashier, and seemingly liked by producers and the press alike. With his strong jaw and cocky attitude, Majors represented the very things Long had come to hate in the industry, showing off over substance, luck over skill, and swagger over being humble. The breaking point, many believed, came during the filming of The Big Valley, where both men were part of the main cast. Behind the scenes, tension simmered. Long, always on time and focused on his character work, often found himself waiting on Majors, who would walk onto set with a smile that made Long even more angry, as if he didn't care about what others expected of him. Majors' growing popularity only made things worse. Fans loved him, critics praised him. Meanwhile, Long felt overlooked, his contributions to the show's success overshadowed by Majors' rising stardom. Their personalities clashed at every level. Long was thoughtful and quiet, preferring peaceful moments in his trailer or late-night script reading. Majors, on the other hand, was loud, flirty, and always seemed to be trying to get attention, even off camera. Their conversations, when they happened at all, were awkward and tense. At cast dinners, Long would sit stiffly at the opposite end of the table, barely hiding his disgust, while Majors told everyone exaggerated stories with easy charm. It wasn't jealousy, at least not in the usual sense. Long didn't want Majors' fame so much as he hated the way he had gotten it. To Long, Majors was a symbol of everything wrong with Hollywood, a system that rewarded youth, looks, and marketability over talent, discipline, and experience. And their resentment got worse over time. Even years after The Big Valley ended, Long couldn't make himself watch Majorson's screen. He would change the channel with an angry look whenever the 6 Million Man came on, muttering under his breath about how cheap science fiction and smugruns were replacing true artistry. Privately, Long told friends that Majors had a grating phoniness, a kind of fake behavior that made him hard to trust. He told stories of Majors stealing punchlines, ignoring direction, or casually making mean comments that others laughed off, but that Long never forgot. There were moments when Long thought about confronting him, telling him exactly what he thought of him, but he held back, choosing instead to let the years pile up like rust on a locked door. In the final years of his life, Richard Long rarely spoke of Lee Majors, but when he did, his tone was sharp, his eyes dark. He had known rivalries in his career, had brushed off critics, and weathered setbacks, but Lee Majors stayed the one name that could still make him genuinely angry. Maybe it was because they had worked so closely, or because they had once shared the same screen and breathed the same air. Or maybe it was simply because Long saw in Majors a mirror of everything he feared becoming, and everything he hated Hollywood had already become. More than anyone in the industry, more than arrogant directors, thoughtless producers, or even nosy gossip columnists, it was Lee Majors whom Richard Long truly and completely hated. During his youth, Richard Long got really sick with pneumonia, an illness that, while often able to be treated, can have lasting effects, especially if not caught early, or if complications happen. In Long's case, it was believed that this early illness had a lasting impact on his heart health. Pneumonia, an infection that makes the air sacs in the lungs swell up, can be especially dangerous in children and teenagers if it leads to reduced oxygen flow or causes strain on the heart. For Long, the pneumonia may have caused permanent damage or weakening of his heart muscles, setting the stage for heart problems that would show up more seriously later in life. Though he seemed to get better and went in to build a successful acting career, the damage it had done to his body would not stay quiet forever. As he got older, Long began experiencing symptoms that go along with heart disease, including tiredness, chest pain, and possibly shortness of breath. Classic warning signs that often go noticed or are blamed on stress, especially among working professionals. By the early 1960s, his health had begun to get noticeably worse. In 1961, at the relatively young age of 33, Long had his first heart attack. This event was not only a serious medical crisis, but also a major turning point in his life. A heart attack at that age was uncommon, especially for someone who seemed to live a relatively active and productive life. The attack likely caused both emotional and physical setbacks, affecting his energy, his outlook, and perhaps even his career path. Still, Long managed to keep working in the entertainment industry, keeping his role as a dependable actor in both television and movies. Despite his determination and continued professional activity, Long's health kept getting worse in the years that followed. He began having repeated heart episodes, a sign that the underlying condition was getting progressively worse and increasingly hard to manage. Ash's heart grew weaker. He needed more intensive medical help. In his final years, he was frequently under medical supervision and may have faced increasing limits on his physical activity. In December 1974, just after turning 47, Long was admitted for an extended month-long stay at Tarzana Medical Center in Los Angeles. The hospital stay was meant to treat the additional heart attacks and related complications that had once again put his life in danger. It was a difficult time not only for Long, but also for his family, friends, and colleagues who had grown worried about his long-term prognosis. Sadly, Richard Long died on December 21, 1974, only 4 days after celebrating his 47th birthday. His death marked the too early end of a life and career that had brought him both praise and admiration. While many remembered him for his performances in series such as The Big Valley, Bourbon Street Beat, and Nanny and the Professor, others mourned the loss of a man who had fought bravely against the odds, struggling for years with the effects of a childhood illness that ultimately led to his early death. His passing served as a harsh reminder of the long-term consequences of early health issues and the importance of heart health awareness, even for those who appear outwardly strong and successful.